the planning versus markets. That feels like a natural evolution from this.
Well, you see, what you have here, and just kidding. If you guys were that was actually me. That wasn't Jordan.
Yeah, I actually kind of thought I had started the video early. You got me.
Do you have? Hold on, pause. Do you have a Peterson underneath your belt, Burgess? I don't hear you doing many.
No, I absolutely could not do a Peterson.
That was like Chad Jordan Peterson for a second after having some testosterone. All right, let's see.
This is the other problem that the Marxists have in particular. The free market system is a giant computational device, distributed computational device, involving billions of calculations per second, trying to compute the transforming horizon of the future. Billions. And it can't be replaced by central planning, not even in principle.
But don't you think there are some issues with that because profit's at the core of it? So just to push back a little bit, a study came out, Scientific American reported on this recently. If the United States had a universal healthcare system, like Canada, for example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, 330,000 more lives could have been saved. So in some ways, I agree.
Well,
that the free
I
market
listened to a
is
study
very
like that,
efficient.
and I think there's no one in the world who can possibly produce a study like that with valid outcomes.
You don't think that
and
that's
the fact
somewhat
that
empirical?
Scientific American reported it? Not in the least. I've done 150. I've done 100 published studies. I know exactly how they work. And there's no possible way that you can produce a scientific study with that kind of conclusion, not unless you build.
Can you pause it for a second?
Too many variables to take into account.
So Dr. Peterson has produced 100 accredited studies on how to determine your love language, according to this simple 10-question quiz.
I mean, just the idea, like,
save my marriage. No, it didn't.
But whatever. I mean, that's definitely the divorce dad basement you've got going there. But they have a no.
Could you tell? Was it obvious?
But no. I mean, this is like, God. This is an amazing moment. I'm actually glad you paused on this because that's nothing to do with what we're getting to. But like, it's just so fucking stupid that like he's saying, like, well, I've done these. I mean, let's say they were, not as bullshitty as much of what he puts out there, some of which is not far from what Adam said. But like, let's say these were all like extremely respectable psychological studies, right? Whatever that means, I don't know. But they have these are all extremely respectable psychological studies. Okay. So like this, like having done some studies in his field of psychology means that he knows what you can or can't discover in like any field of human endeavor, that like he could just sort of like, just with the power of his thoughts, he knows in advance. It's like, no, physicists say they've shown that nope, bullshit. I know, right? They can't possibly have discovered that. It's like, well, they did the study.
I've done at least 1,000 studies on personality types, and I can determine your perfect partner on Tinder if you just take this quiz. And I had to Google this because I listened, and it's like $50. I mean, it's a good grift if you can get it. Charging a bunch of like lovesick teenagers $50 a pop of their parents' money to take the personality quiz. It's going to match you with your perfect partner. But I mean, it's like, and then he starts off by saying, there are billions of calculations, like, what is it? If you can't really make a good argument, just baffle them with bullshit. That's like what he's doing here. Right, just baffling with bullshit as far as that goes. And later, I can't help to say, I don't think we're going to go here, but I want to. So everything has to be, these studies, you can't possibly know these things. And yet, at the very end of the episode, he makes a claim that the sort of trans rights movement has undoubtedly, and this is almost verbatim, undoubtedly hurt exponentially more people than it's helped. So his claims don't need to be backed by anything. At all. He doesn't even need to cite studies. And yet everyone else's studies are undeniably false. It's
because he's done some studies on whatever
love languages.
Yeah. And so he knows what you can and can't establish.
Well, this harkens back to the Rogan appearance when he's saying like the climate is everything and you can't study everything. Like he's trying to say it's like beyond the bounds of what research could possibly ever study, which I guess implies that what he studies, like love languages, is empirical, or more empirical than.
It's an exaggeration, but it's not much of an exaggeration of what he does.
Yeah. I mean, just whatever he did said, he's claiming.
Nick, are you more of like a touch? Are you like more of a touch guy or like a words of affirmation guy? I have to know.
That's within the realm of empirical.
I mean, I like acts of service sometimes. Like if somebody does the dishes for me, it's kind of nice. It makes me feel special. But according to the Peterson quiz, I'm more of a words guy.
I should work on that.
There you go. There you go.
You got to
baffle them with bullshit.
You got to clean someone else's room,
fellas.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I just
yeah.
The claim about the study is ridiculous, but like what he's starting to try to do before he, like the structure of what we just watched, we should watch more, but like the structure of what we just watched is he sort of lays on the like Hayek von Mises kind of argument that like he's heard and he can sort of repeat, that you can't have like state planning can't do what markets do and coordinating production priorities with consumer preferences, and getting capital goods where they need to go, so they're so this for the stuff that you need to produce and all that stuff, and then Kyle is making, I mean, I think there's I don't know, at least this how I hear it. I mean, maybe this isn't how he sees his point, but I mean, the point that seems like Kyle's making is, well, hold up, right? Because like, even if there's some truth to that, and look, I mean, I think that I don't think we should be too, I mean, I don't think, like, I think there are real problems with figuring out how like economic planning could work, and and there's like something real that's lurking there. But like also, like even if you read something like People's Republic of Walmart by Lee Phillips and Mikhail Rozworski, where they're like pretty enthusiastic about planning, they'll still acknowledge problems. We don't necessarily need to know how to do all of this stuff yet, and all of that, right? So there's like a real thing there. But like what Kyle is pointing out is, okay, Dr. Peterson, but come on, like surely there are at least some sectors in which planning in various like real existing social democracies actually does a pretty good job, right? I mean, like that like it's good that healthcare has been decommodified in a bunch of countries. That's like way better for them, right? Than it would be if it was still in the market, which is just like a correct point. And his only
you and Matt McManus break that down really well, I will say, and I caught that piece of that. I mean, that's just undeniable. It's completely absurd that Peterson would deny the superiority of some kind of state planning over healthcare. I mean,
yeah. So it just like, and this is just Peterson just like refusing to acknowledge it, because it's like let's say for the sake of argument he's right about the study. I think that his argument that like he's done studies, so he knows how studies work in every possible field, and so all he needs to hear is like a one sentence summary of it, and he can tell you whether it's bullshit, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with what he has expertise in. Like, as silly as that is, like, okay, pretend for the sake of argument that the study is a bad study. Okay, but like, what about the more fundamental point here that like people have better outcomes in countries with nationalized healthcare or health insurance, and like obviously it would have been better if we had that during a awful pandemic that also coincided with lots of people losing their employer health insurance.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, he contradicts himself so many times, but he contradicts himself directly here. There's a place, I'm not sure if we'll get to it in any of the clips that we're going to roll, but he talks about, he almost sort of bops Kyle in the head and says, no, wait a minute. These markets, they require tremendous amounts of sort of, he didn't say planning, but something about like coordination from sort of state and state level institutions. So he fully and readily acknowledges the fact that, by the way, like I believe the late Ellen Makesons Wood said this in many of her writings. She said, free market capitalism was planned.
Right.
Of course it is. And it still is. I mean, just watch the Fed. I mean, why do you think people, shit their pants every time the Fed makes any proclamation? The Fed chair wakes up and looks out his window and and talks about it. Well, this loon is chirping across the water. It's a beautiful day, and someone steals a page from his journal and publishes it in the Wall Street Journal. Everybody shits their pants. It's just every word has to be deciphered because there's just this acceptance that the Fed is sort of lording over our market system, and it's obvious. And yet here it's like, well, billions of calculations. It's just, I can't.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.